everybody else to just tune in, and we'll be getting started shortly here. Thank you. And by way of housekeeping, there's a chat widget on your bottom right corner of the screen. So feel free to ask any questions, make any comments over there, and I'll be monitoring the chat over there, and we'll be able to pick up any of the chat questions or comments and be able to respond. Thank you. All right. So, Malcolm, maybe it's time for us to begin. So, let me just first of all introduce Malcolm to everybody here in the audience. So, I'm joined today by Malcolm. He's a senior sales and strategy leader who's worked at the intersection of AI, cybersecurity, and digital transformation for years. Malcolm has led initiatives with NT Data, Salon Build, and Verdant AI, helping organizations turn emerging technologies into trusted real world defenses. He's passionate about how people and machines collaborate, not just to stop attacks, but to build security cultures that learn and adapt. Malcolm, great to have you here. Let's talk about the promise of the AI and similarly perils of the AI that face us today.
Well,
So,
thank you, Rajiv. Appreciate you setting aside time, and thank you for everyone for logging on.
great. So, I'm just going to, I have some of these questions written up here that I want to ask you, Malcolm, and feel free to, address those and offer us your perspective because I know you have a lot of, breadth and expertise in this area. So, first question I would have for you is when you look around and you look at the cybersecurity world right now, what feels like the biggest promise of AI and what's the most underestimated peril?
Thank you, Rajiv. So, really, the promise is speed and scale. So, AI can spot anomalies in real time. That's a given. It also correlates data over system across systems, and it reacts faster than any human team could. And the peril of that is over reliance and us really taking those types of capabilities for granted, but also trusting them inherently. So if bias or say bad data creeps in, the system magnifies those errors significantly and instantly. For example, Microsoft Security Copilot helped one enterprise cut incident triage time from hours to minutes using GPT-4 to summarize alerts. And that's the upside of that whole scenario. But at the same time, false positives rose by nearly 20% when the team stopped validating the model's output. So AI can make good teams great, but it can also make mistakes global.
Got it. Now, you mentioned before that overconfidence is one of the biggest hidden risks. Can you expand on that, please? And how does too much trust in AI actually make us less secure?
Sure. So because of the automated and the scale at which AI works at, we usually assume that AI is smart, and that because it's smart, because in a lot of cases when we do that cursory overview, we inherently feel that it must be right. But in reality, it could flag noise or it could miss subtle cues entirely. And overconfidence happens when analysts stop questioning and just go with what the AI spits out directly. The best defense, quite honestly, is humility. The pairing of the precision that the algorithm puts together with human skepticism. We should always be asking the question, did the model see this as a threat? And if it did, then why? And when we think about the fact when things happen and we don't insert the human element, one financial firm learned this the hard way. when their AI intrusion detector misread what was normal maintenance traffic as ransomware. And what ended up happening was automated shutdowns were triggered and the system was down for about 6 hours. So there wasn't anything malicious that actually happened. It was just misplaced trust in the algorithm's confidence score. But that's one example of us not really inserting the human element in and being able, and as a result, having the automation kick in and having possibly negative results.
Got it. So that kind of touches on sort of the idea of a human in the loop, right? So if full automation isn't the answer, what does the ideal partnership between analyst and AI look like?
Sure,
And how do we keep humans empowered instead of getting replaced?
sure. So AI should extend analysts, not replace them. When you think about the secure or the organizations that are securing their situations most effectively, those are the ones where humans and machines and algorithms are playing to their strengths. AI handles things with speed and with scale, while humans supply the context, the creativity, and ultimately the judgment on the positive or the negative. So if you take Darktrace's cyber AI analyst as a solution, it can summarize hundreds of low-level alerts into a few high confidence narratives, which from a human's perspective can cut investigation time considerably, almost like 90% efficiency. But the system still depends upon a human analyst to validate the intention and prioritize the responses, and more importantly, interpret the behaviors that fall outside the historical patterns. So the value itself isn't in automation; it's really in augmentation. Also, the human intuition is really vital in areas where machines can't fully grasp context, like motive, deception, and even things like an organization's risk appetite. A model can tell you what happened, but only a person can really assess like why that truly matters. So leading security operations centers now build a human in the loop process as their standard practice. So automation can accelerate, but humans should be deciding. And the goal isn't fewer analysts, it's really better ones that are empowered by AI, but it amplifies their ability to incorporate the human element to provide better insights rather than actually just replacing it.
Got it. Now, let's shift gears and look at it from the attacker's perspective. So, threat actors are already using AI to move faster, as we all know. They're
Right.
becoming smarter every day. Where do you see the biggest asymmetry right now? Are the bad actors ahead of the defenders?
I believe that they are right now. And attackers always have the advantage in speed, but AI has actually widened that gap. When you think about offense versus defense, usually the defensive scenarios are such to where they have to actually be interrogated by a threat in order for them to learn and then remediate. So the process is actually inherently in favor of the attackers. But now, when you incorporate AI into the mix, they can do phishing campaigns in multiple languages. They can create deep fake voices and automatically tailor messages to specific targets. And they could do that all at scale. And what used to take weeks of manual effort for them to put that together can now be done in minutes. So the economies of scale and the and automation really are in their favor. They're also automating early stages of intrusion, so their tools that are powered with LLMs can now scan open source code, find the vulnerabilities. They can write working exploits, and they could even obfuscate payloads and slip past filters. So AI really has become like a force multiplier for offense, turning individual attackers into scalable operations. And as I said earlier, defenders are slowed by compliance scales, by procurement cycles and procurement hurdles, and also the nature of siloed data, like the siloed nature of what they're doing and how they do it. And so, where collaboration between organizations, say in a given vertical or across the industry as a whole, can become the equalizer. The fastest gains are occurring when organizations they share their telemetry, they share threat indicators, and they anonymize attack data. They anonymize attack data in near real time. And when we start figuring out the lessons of this new scenario, We find out that defenders don't win by matching speed, but by linking defenses. So if we share intelligence, if we have federated learning between security models, and if we are able to include, say, industry wide anomaly networks, those are the next frontier for remediation. In cybersecurity's AI area, connectivity really is the new firewall or the new perimeter that we're playing on as of now.
Got it. Got it. Now, there's obviously a lot going on, and a lot of your comments are pointing to that. So, given all this reality, if you were advising a chief information security officer today, the CISO, what's one pragmatic step they should take this year to strengthen their defenses?
Hmm. I would go with data integrity and not dashboards. We have to have we really have to set a standard and a benchmark as opposed to just kind of reading what is happening in real time and then trying to read and trying to react to that in real time. It's not to say that dashboards aren't important, but cybersecurity only works if the information feeding the models is accurate, complete, and current. And what we're understanding now is that a number of CISOs, too many CISOs really, are chasing new tools when their telemetry data is inconsistent across the endpoints, across the clouds, and across vendors. Think of it in this way: if your logs are incomplete or mislabeled, you're training your AI to misunderstand your environment. Clean, consistent data gives your security models the context that they need to distinguish unusual from unsafe. So once the foundation is solid, the next step is training the humans who interpret the AI. The analysts need to understand and to know not just how to read alerts, but to question them and when to trust the automation and then when to override it and push back. Um, if you look at a Fortune 100 energy company that I worked with fairly recently, I worked with them and discovered that over 40% of their log data feeding their SIEM platform was missing critical fields of information, or it was just misformatted completely. They didn't buy new software. What they ended up doing is they rebuilt their data pipelines, they standardized their taxonomies, and they retrained their analysts to validate AI outputs. And what ended up happening after that, within 3 months of us having that discovery and then us putting the remediation into effect, the false positives drops by over 50%, and the mean time to detect their for detection actually improved by over 30%. So if you invest in the before you invest in, say, the new and latest AI solution, if you actually do the foundational work around data quality and analyst literacy, you'll be able to be much more effective, and you can save yourself from the being at the mercy of dirty data or untrained analysts. I think that's really the key.
Got it. Got it. Now, let's talk about ethics for a moment. As AI systems scan massive data streams, where do privacy and accountability fit in here? And also, how do we make sure that secure doesn't slide into surveillance?
Sure. Um, Security and privacy have to really be co-designed at the ground floor. It's not a trade-off. They need to work in collaboration. Many times when we're talking about ethics and when ethics enter into the conversation, it's after things have already been deployed, when something goes wrong, as opposed to being intentional and incorporating that into the foundation of the solution. The smarter move is to bake ethical checks into the design phase. And so what that means is asking early and being curious from the perspective of what data do we really need to train the model? How could the system unintentionally profile or exclude certain groups? And how do you explain the decision path or the decisions in plain language to non-experts? Ethical AI isn't about putting the brakes on innovation. It's really about not even really checking a box from a regulatory standpoint, but it's engineering that mindset that treats trust as a feature rather than an option. And the organizations that lead cybersecurity are going to be the ones that incorporate transparency, incorporate accountability, and consent as part of their resilience layer. And to do that, once again, at the inception phase rather than after the fact.
I see. Now, I know you touched upon the whole issue of regulation and compliance sometimes slowing down organizations. So now, as governments are racing to set AI rules, the EU AI Act, the NIST framework, and others, are these efforts helping or hindering innovation in cybersecurity, in your opinion?
I think when we're talking about regulation, just by the inherent nature of the bureaucracies that put together these types of regulation is always going to trail innovation. But for example, the EU's AI Act, it's really a major step forward in balancing trust with progress. Because what it does is it classifies AI by risk. So there are different categories like unacceptable, high limited, and minimal. And then it requires strict transparency and oversight and documentation for any high risk systems, which includes cybersecurity tools as part of the critical infrastructure. So the law took effect in 2024, and it's going to phase out through the remainder of this year. But currently, it's already shaping how European organizations build and buy AI solutions. But when we talk about once again being intentional and trying to do the best that we can with the solutions that we have, um, regulation is going to kind of slow things down. But in some cases, that intentional slowdown really benefits us in the long run. And I think it's worth the industry seeing that, respecting the intentionality of what these regulations incorporate, and most effectively, like how do we make that the integration of those concepts as seamless as possible, rather than fighting City Hall, if you will. Let's work with government. Let's work with these regulations in order to have that be um, a baseline platform that can help us be as effective and address these challenges as seamlessly as possible.
I see. Yeah. So now I think we are coming towards the end of our session here. But as my last question that I have here prepared, if you just think, I mean, we want to end on the end on a note of optimism. So, what gives you hope about AI in cybersecurity, and in your opinion, what signal should be watching for over the next 12 months?
Hmm. I would say that the shift from AI as a tool in cybersecurity to AI as an infrastructure of defense itself. If you think about detection, deception, recovery, it's going to all become continuous systems that learn from these breach attempts and are going to be able to reconfigure themselves in real time. Um, are really going to be the frontier of counter AI. And the shift isn't going to necessarily happen in isolation. Agencies and private companies are beginning to share their telemetry, synthetic data through networks and CISA-led AI threat exchanges. I think when we start talking about the collective nature of what's going to be required for us to be able to remediate the scalability of AI with relation to cybersecurity, I think that opens up so many different opportunities for us to be adaptive, to learn from each other, to create more effective solutions. I see this as a great opportunity in the long run for government, for private and public entities to be able to collaborate and um, to put together a more effective, more comprehensive paradigm in addition to solutions to solve some of these challenges. So we have a great chance and a great opportunity to be collaborative, and that's really I think the promise of what AI can bring forth in terms of remediation, but also how we can incorporate AI into our solutions themselves. It's just allowing for us to work better and to work more effectively together. And so there's a lot of positivity associated with that. And I'm looking forward to the different ways that that's actually going to present itself.
Got it. Now, let me, I'm looking at some of the questions here from the audience. So, one question is basically about, how should companies be thinking about preparing a robust platform or strategy for defining data and how to protect it? So, can you just offer a general framework? Because this is a similar question I've been thinking about for my own company.
Of course.
So, yeah, so how would you advise whether CISOs or founders or even a small little company? how should they be safeguarding their data when it comes to external threats and vulnerabilities?
Well, once again, going back to one of the questions that I had answered earlier, it's really on the the intentionality of addressing the ethical concerns and being intentional with at the design level, like how do we incorporate ethics? How do we incorporate privacy? How do we incorporate security? How do we think about what it's like to um, to build with the with an idea of what these challenges are going to attack us with, and to be able to incorporate some of these more intangible elements rather than just kind of going with a here's a problem, here's the solution. Um, as many of our attendees and people that watch this webinar will attest to, they've got the capability and they have the experience and the sophisticated background to to really leverage previous experiences and to come with solutions that, if they're built appropriately from the ground up, can remediate a lot of these issues from jump. So I think once again, the intentionality of incorporating ethics, of doing more than just, hey, look, here's a problem, here's a solution, but being thoughtful in terms of understanding not only what are the threats, but also what are the outside of the box scenarios that could be taking place. Um, I think if we are intentional in incorporating those into the design at the base level, that's going to go a long way for us to be able to check a lot of these boxes.
Yeah. There's another question here where it's, the federated intelligence model. Are there any not-for-profit or government regulated agencies out there that are enabling the effort to federate intelligence that you're
Google's
aware of,
federated
maybe?
learning, yeah, Google's federated learning
Yeah.
for Android malware is a strong example of that. There's a use case where devices learn from local data patterns without sending user data to the cloud. And when people have, or when companies have incorporated Google's federated learning into their process, the detection accuracy actually improved by give or take about 20%, while privacy stayed intact. So, that's one use case that I can think of straight away where federated capability is being applied.
Okay, so that's great. So first of all, I think we're coming to an end here. So first of
Mhm.
all, Malcolm, thank you for taking the time. This was a great exchange, clear, candid, and forward thinking. And thanks to everybody for joining in and listening to us here. Now, one thing we might do, Malcolm, if you're open to it, is we might do another session where we can send a list of survey questions to our attendees from today's session and maybe other people as well, and maybe just go, have a deeper dive into a couple of areas. So would that be an interesting activity for us to at least explore, Malcolm?
Absolutely. Would look forward to that very much, Rajiv. You just let's sync up and figure out when we can put that together.
All
I'd be
right.
more than willing to make that happen.
Okay. All right. With that, thank you everybody for joining again, and thank you, Malcolm, for sharing your thoughts and perspective. So long. Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
You can just hit end recording.
I did.
Thank you. All right. I'll see you. I'll call you. Thank
All
you.
right, Rajiv. Thank you.
Mhm.